We're going to talk weather with CBS meteorologist Dave Nussbaum, and we'll introduce you to a foundation focused on the Trussville Senior Center. Tribune Unscripted starts now. Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome back to Tribune Unscripted. I'm Brandon Dawkins with Tribune Digital Media, here with Scott Buttram, publisher of the Trussville Tribune. And we are obviously going to talk about weather first because it has been a very weather-focused week.
Yes.
It's been, hey, winter storm craziness. Hey, we may not be in bad shape. It's kind of been all over the place for a lot of different good reasons. But it is Thursday where we can really start to get a better idea of what's happening with our weather situation this week.
Right.
And so we're fortunate to have Dave Nussbaum, who's a wonderful partner with us at CBS 42, and agreed to come hang out with us for a little bit via Zoom.
There's been quite and Ron will be bringing Dave in right now, quite a bit of uncertainty. We started out the week feeling like, we're certainly going to get about 2 to 4 feet of ice.
I think that's
we're probably going to be iced in until early spring. It's going to rain. It is an inexact science. Hey, Dave, thanks for joining us. We feel very fortunate to have a bona fide expert to these issues. And listen, I'm going to defend the National Weather Service in Birmingham just a little bit. They do tend to get giddy when winter weather comes up. I want them to get a little giddy when things like this are. I want them to be excited and be a little elevated in what they're doing because it's so important. But it's really easy to start pointing fingers at those guys when they're trying to predict something a week out. They're really, really good at predicting weather in real time, which has saved thousands of lives in the state. And we need to keep that in mind.
This is a situation that affects the whole country.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a massive storm ultimately, right?
Yeah, it's going to stretch from New Mexico all the way to the eastern seaboard up across the Northeast. Lots of impacts. Areas will see significant ice. Some areas will see significant snow. And then now the forecast is we're getting closer and closer to that event. And now where the accuracy is starting to come back into play a little bit more. Scott, we were talking about earlier this week, look, we're going to get potentially maybe an inch and a half of ice across much of the area. And that would be devastating. That would rival probably the 1982, if you remember that ice storm. That's not going to happen now. So, whew.
Yeah, that's right.
So what are we looking at for the weekend, as far as we can tell right now?
So we're going to be dealing with the whole setup comes from upper level lows sitting off the West Coast or moving into California right now. Hurricane hunters, believe it or not, were flying into it yesterday, getting more data. Now they fly into these systems all the time in the wintertime because they have to do something when it's not hurricane season. But they improve their skills. Of course, the same concept of doing it in a hurricane, just into a mid-level cyclone or low pressure off there. And over the ocean, there's no weather data. Outside of an airplane flying by, there's no data that's transmitted back. Once you get over land, you've got weather balloons, you've got reporting stations and everything, and all that data goes into the models. So when the hurricane hunters fly out, they get all additional data that just makes the models more accurate. So that's what they were doing yesterday into today's models. And so the forecast still hasn't changed for what we saw last 2 days. Looks like more of a cold rain event for much of the area, and maybe ending as some snow or freezing rain Sunday evening for us. And then it's going to get frigid cold as we head into Sunday night, Monday, into Tuesday morning. So at this point, we could pick up 2 to 4 inches of rain across the area, albeit a cold rain. But originally, we're looking at high temperatures in the lower to middle 30s a few days ago. Now, potentially high temperatures could be in the 50s on Saturday. So that's what gives us the rain. The difference right now is going to be where this area low pressure we're going to expect to form in the Gulf is going to track. The original thinking was it would track right along the coastline, and that would allow the cold Arctic air to come in, that moisture from the Gulf being thrown over top of it, textbook case for us to get winter weather here. Now that low is going to be farther inland. Actually, it looks like it's going to move right over top of Birmingham. So that means that warm air is going to come up our way. And instead of ice and snow, it's going to be more rain before it ends. And the backside of it will get some of that colder air and maybe some winter weather. So a lot has changed in a few days. Forecasting winter weather in the South is incredibly difficult to do. To what we were talking about earlier, that Gulf low, it hasn't even developed yet. So we have to wait for that to form to kind of give us exactly what we're going to see. But the latest trends are that we're going to see some rain and quite a bit of it, and then the cold air comes in. So not as harsh for us, which is good news. Our neighbors up in Huntsville, maybe over into Marion and Winston County, Coleman County, Etowah County, maybe Calhoun County, could see some freezing rain before it changes over to some rain. And the eastern part of the state may see some cold air coming down the Appalachians that may give them Saturday night some freezing rain before it goes back to rain during the day of Sunday. So a lot of moving parts to all this. This isn't your typical front coming in. And the craziest part about this is now that low's coming farther north, South Alabama may be in the 70s. North Alabama could be in the 20s. So they actually may have severe weather in South Alabama while we're dealing with cold right here and snow and ice across the Huntsville area. So this is just like Mother Nature's throwing everything at us.
Okay, so what does that leave us with though Monday morning? So are we looking at icy roads Monday morning, like a black ice situation?
Yes, there is going to be the potential for that. So what'll happen is the precipitation will end before you go to bed on Sunday night. It will become breezy and the temperatures are going to plummet. We'll get down into the teens for everyone Monday morning. So if the roads are not dry enough, we will have black ice issues on Monday morning to contend with, especially those areas that are maybe not so traveled, those back roads, those country roads. They may still be very wet, and especially bridges and overpasses, because we're going to have, again, temperatures in the teens, wind chill of around 10 degrees. We could have some ice issues to contend with on Monday mornings. So a lot of people are asking questions. What about work? What about school? We'll have to evaluate that Sunday night into Monday morning. But at this point, I would caution everyone not to be traveling much Monday until we have a good idea if these roads will dry out.
So hypothetically, if somebody had a 6 a.m. flight out of Birmingham Monday morning to go to Hawaii, is there a chance that you might not be making the flight?
It depends.
People I just pulled out of the air.
Oh wow, look at that. Hypothetical. I would say there's it's iffy right now.
Okay.
Only if one, you can get to the airport. Two, if the runways are dry enough, they can de-ice the plane, so that's not going to be a problem.
Okay.
But if the runway is dry, then the flight should be able to take off. But wherever that plane is coming from the night before, because it's probably the first flight out, that could play a role too.
Okay. Well, that person hypothetically might need to be paying attention to their for their airline.
I was probably since well, I think Saturday you're okay, so you may want to spend the night in the Atlanta airport lobby Saturday.
Can't do that. I have to be in Montgomery. So anyway, I mean, hypothetically, that person who might be doing all that. All right. Anything else?
Well, the hypotheticals are big.
We may not need a co-host to come in next week. We may be fine.
Baby.
Okay, Dave, one of the things I was going to ask you, when you see a setup like this, are you concerned that when we do get out in front of it, and if we have an issue like this a month from now, that people might not take it as seriously? Or do you see your viewers tend to kind of look at these each as an isolated incident, which they are? Everyone's completely different. What's your feel as a meteorologist from the 42 audience?
I think everyone does take them. Okay, we missed it this time, but it's been a while, so are we due for one? But everyone always goes back to the snowpocalypse days, which, hey, I don't blame them. But that was a very unique setup, more of a southern storm, and it happened to go north. This is impacting the whole country. So, I mean, they're not apples to apples, if you know what I mean. So, everyone does like, well, I don't want to get stuck. This time it's on the weekend. So obviously there's no school. Most people are home anyway. You can stay home and, hang out all day. We're lucky in this aspect that it's going to be more of a rain event. If we were talking significant icing, inch plus of ice, I mean, that would be power outages for days. That would be significant tree damage across Alabama. It would look more like tornado damage than anything else. So we're lucky in that aspect, but it's one of these, you got to be patient. You see stuff in these Yahoos all over social media putting stuff out 2 weeks in advance on, hey, major ice storm. And then it's like, well, we didn't get anything. That's why you got to trust your local folks first. And those, who know what they're talking about. Unfortunately, because of those Yahoos, I have to address all that. And like, look, I see it, I see the trends, but you got to trust me. That's too far in advance. That, signals are saying something could happen. We'll watch it, but someone posting we're getting tons and tons and tons of snow or ice in Birmingham 10 days out. You can't buy into that. Now we're in that window 2 days out where you could start relying on some of the totals we're seeing, which in this case would be little to no ice, lots of rain, and little to no snow.
Well, I wanted to commend you. I watched you all week, actually. And one of the days you had a graphic where you kind of you listed out some things that you're like, this is what we don't know. And you listed out some things that were just way too early to know. I thought it was very effective and made the point very well that it was just too early and we'll know these things later. I thought it was helpful to people.
Yeah, Dave, and I need to compliment you. You were my go-to guy long before CBS 42 was our media partner. I'd actually gotten hooked on Dave on his radio pop-ins.
Yeah.
I've been following him for a long time. I appreciate the voice of reason you bring to all this, and you do it so consistently. We really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. No, I mean, I feel it's important. I mean, unfortunately, social media can be good and can be bad, and it's annoying that I have to, kind of calm the masses, if you will, when something that's 10 days out, Same thing happens if there's a tropical system, it's like, oh, one model run shows it's coming through. Well, and then it never happens. And obviously that's clickbait for some. I know there's a financial side for some out there as well. And I get that, but at the same time, you got to be responsible, and that's why it's always important to trust your local meteorologists here. We're human. We're not just, on our phones and, it's just not an app doing something. If you download the 42 app, it's our forecast. I mean, we're humans putting numbers in there for you. So I could take all the data that's out there and then I have to analyze it. I have to put together what I think is going to happen. And that's what's important versus just throwing a specific model run at a certain time, which doesn't mean anything to most people. So that's what I went to school for. That's what my job is. And I hope I can do it the best I can.
Well, we appreciate it. And we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule today to be with us.
Sure.
Thanks, Dave. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get to that information about the Trussville Senior Center. So stay with us. Thanks, Dave.
Sure. No problem. Anytime. Let me know.
That was a long way of saying you knew it would be
Yeah, take care and be safe this weekend. Good luck going to Hawaii.
All right, bye.
See ya.
Have you been to Discount Warehouse lately? New electronics, brand name makeup, and bedding arrive daily. Follow their Facebook page to find out about special sales on clothing, tools, and fireworks. Discount Warehouse, where you will never pay.
Ah, now this is the life. Who's a good boy? Well, to tell you the truth, it's my humans. They're the ones who made sure to buy me a home with natural gas. The furnace warms like no other. The fire turns on instantly. Whoa. And I'm happier than a beagle in a bacon factory. Oh, that's the spot. And with the money we save on our energy bill, well, I got big plans for that. Visit my website and learn why natural gas is a home's best friend.
Welcome back, everybody. Okay, we want to turn our attention to a new group that is giving support to the Trussville Senior Center, which I think is really neat. You just you literally walked in to this information this week. So I want you to introduce our guest and tell people what we're talking about.
I will be glad to do that. Doug Smith is the president of the Friends of the Trussville Senior Activity Center. Doug and I bumped into each other at lunch yesterday. He was sharing all this and planning to send it to us. You called. In the middle of that conversation, actually, Doug had gone back to the buffet when you called, and so I shared it with you, and you said, "Let's get it now." So go get him. So we've got Doug on to talk about this. And, Doug, this is of particular interest to me because I fall right smack dab in the middle of senior citizen age. So, first of all, let's talk a bit about the senior center in Trussville. We see this actually in all the cities across our coverage area. It's true in every city, but especially true in Trussville. We have an exceptionally active Trussville Senior Center, and they do a really good job over there.
They absolutely do, and I had a big misconception about what goes on in the senior center. My wife had to talk me in to going over there because I thought I'm not old enough for that. What do they do over there? I just didn't have any idea what was going on. But once I started participating and going to the exercise classes and the dance classes and all the things that are going on over there, I really saw how vibrant and vital it is really to our senior community here in Trussville and the surrounding area.
I felt the same way when I visited Dave, and once you go in and you meet all the pool sharks that hang out there all day, and you realize those guys aren't sitting around in rocking chairs, they're having a good time over there.
Well, Doug, kind of tell us how this group that you guys have created, how it will serve the senior center exactly.
Sure, and let me tell you kind of why we decided to do it. As you've talked about on this show often, Trussville has revenue challenges. Due to the way sales taxes are distributed in the state, the move from purchases in store to online. And it's created about a $4.5 million shortfall in revenue for the city. So there are consequences to that.
Right.
And one of the consequences is that the operating budget for the senior center was significantly reduced. And it wasn't just the senior center. It was all the departments within the city. So that funding shortfall kind of inspired us to create an organization to kind of bridge the gap, if you will, between what city funding can provide to provide a basic level of service to the seniors and what we might be able to do to really provide an excellent level of service to the seniors in our community. So that was kind of the impetus for why we created this new nonprofit. And then on doing a little research, I found out that in general, the seniors in the Trussville area are a really large proportion of the population here.
It really is.
Yeah.
Just looking at the census data between 2010 and 2020, Trussville had amazing growth of 31% in population. Well, guess what? The senior, 65 and older, went up 68%.
Oh, wow.
So we went from like 13% of the population to 17%, and it's expected to top out somewhere around 23%. So what you have is a situation where you have a growing need for services to the senior center, and then you also have a reduction in resources. So that's kind of why we started. So to get more directly to your question, our goal is we are a fundraising organization. So we're trying to raise funds to be able to do some of the things that we'd like to do at the senior center that the city really just doesn't have the resources to provide for us. One of the first things we're going to do by popular demand at the senior center is we're going to bring back day trips. And the Friends of the Senior Center are going to guarantee those trips so that if someone's unable to attend for legitimate reasons, needs a refund, it's not on the city to absorb that loss. We'll take care of that. And we're also going to provide a scholarship seat for a senior that maybe can't afford to go on a trip. So that's just an example, but there's many other ways that we can help the Senior Center financially and make it as good as it can be for our seniors.
Doug, you made a point a few minutes ago that I kind of wanted to pare down on. You basically said, helping take the services at the center from good to excellent, and that is a big difference, and it's a big difference in quality of life for people in that phase of life. I've walked that road with my grandmother, and I know the difference you're talking about there, especially them having the opportunity to take the day trips and things like that. What else makes the difference between offering some good services, let's say maybe having the meals? What are the things that take it to excellent? What are some other examples that make it excellent?
Well, let me back it up a little bit and just kind of go back to my preconceived ideas about the Senior Center. I thought that the Senior Center was just like a nice amenity, kind of like the swimming pool or something like that we have in town. But regular exercise, in particular for seniors, adds, large studies have proven this, adds up to 4.5 years of life. But even more important than that is, more important than obesity or exercise, is social engagement. Engaging with other seniors can add up to 7.5 years of life and reduce dementia risks by 46%. So, understanding how vital the Senior Center is and the services that it provides in our community really inspired me to be involved in this. And as far as what else we're going to do, it's hard to say. We depend on the Senior Center director to make recommendations to us. She has her pulse on what the needs are in the center. Maybe it's providing some equipment. We have a workout room there, and some of that stuff's getting a little old. So maybe it's upgrading some equipment there. And in fact, we might even participate in an expansion of the Senior Center at some point. We are really busting at the seams on some days. So we're looking at the need to actually expand the center so that we can serve more seniors.
Doug, I went to the website for the foundation this morning. It's very easy to navigate and very easy for people to make direct donations. But when we were talking yesterday, there are actually a number of ways for people to consider including this foundation in their will, or different ways. Do you want to get into that a little bit, just different options that are available to people?
Sure. Well, we're looking for individual donors. We're looking for corporate sponsorships. We talked about the sales tax issue. There is no group in the city that does a better job of spending their money in local businesses than the senior citizens here. And you go to any restaurant, talk to any restaurant owner, they'll tell you that the senior citizens are a really important client for them. So, those individual donations are going to be very important. Those that can do a weekly recurring donation, that would be ideal, but we would be so grateful for anything that anybody can give. One of the exciting things that's happening this year from a tax deductibility standpoint is, for the first time in U.S. history, as far as I can tell, you don't have to itemize to be able to take a tax deduction for charitable donations. That starts in 2026. So in 2027, when you're filing for 26, a single filer can deduct up to $1,000, and if you're filing jointly with a spouse, you can deduct up to $2,000, even if you're taking the standard deduction. So that's brand new in 2026. So we think that's a nice perk for those individuals that might be looking for an avenue to make a difference in Trussville and to help our seniors. And then we'll be visiting our, the businesses in town, and we'll be trying to see if we can't develop some corporate sponsorships to help us out there as well. There's also the opportunity for grants for nonprofits and foundations that can only donate to a nonprofit organization. So we're looking at all the different avenues, but frankly, we're just getting started. So we're putting our committees together, and it's going to take a while for us to get up and rolling. But I am so grateful to have this opportunity to come here and just expose the community to the fact that that we're here and we're trying to help the seniors, and they need it.
Well, I'm like Scott, I looked at the website today, and so people can check that out at tcsfriends.org. I also think that it's easy to navigate and get information from, and so I'm sure that the city is really appreciative for just the time and effort you're investing in the center. So we just really appreciate you coming and sharing it with us.
Well, I've been a long time viewer of Trussville Unscripted, and never thought I'd get an opportunity to see what goes on here and be part of it. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Yeah, Doug, before you get away, I want to mention to you that demographic is a pretty important demographic to the local newspaper as well. That's the group that grew up knowing what newspapers should be. They help keep us accountable, and they are very, very loyal readers and share a lot of information. So we appreciate that group. And again, I'm part of that group now, so I appreciate them even more.
And I want to thank you, Scott, for making your donation. I saw that this morning, so thank you very much. That was very generous of you.
Happy to do it. I'm just supporting myself there.
Thanks so much, Doug. Well, stay with us. When we come back, we'll get to some other news of the day. We'll be back in a minute.
If you don't have a will, trust, or some kind of estate plan, you're leaving your loved ones with a lot of headaches. Probate fees and tax issues bring stress to your family while they grieve your loss. Cahaba Law Group is here to protect them and give you reassurance that your hard-earned money and assets are not lost to bureaucratic mayhem. They can help you create the ideal estate plan. If you're currently in probate, Cahaba Law Group can help assist you there too. Plus, they can handle more than just probate. They can serve you in just about any legal matter. Begin now by scheduling a consultation at cahabalaw.net.
I'm Drew Lawley, General Manager at Courtesy Buick GMC. Come see us at Courtesy, where we have over 300 vehicles to choose from, including GMCs, Buicks, and certified pre-owned vehicles. Come see us at Courtesy or check us out at courtesybirmingham.com. Proud supporter of our area high school teams.
Well, we're back, and we want to talk about a couple other news items from today. This one was actually put up by the newspaper today. This was very unfortunate to see, but a pedestrian in Pinson was killed on Pinson Boulevard. A 70-year-old man, Jonah McKay, was either crossing the road or traveling along the road, and unfortunately, this was this last night?
Yeah, it was last night about 7:30 or so.
And he was struck and killed.
He was hit, and all we know is that he was in the roadway. As you said, he could have been crossing the road. We don't know the circumstances, but 70 years old and struck and killed. And the vehicle that hit him, that driver remained, stayed on the scene and waited for, in fact, he called emergency vehicles. So the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office will continue to investigate, but it's heartbreaking to see that. It's getting dark. It's dark about that time. It's not getting dark. It's already dark.
Yes.
Even though it doesn't feel that late, but certainly our thoughts are with that family today.
Yeah, I was really sorry to see that. That's extremely unfortunate. Well, turning to Irondale, I was really not surprised, but also really glad to see this. So Irondale, as we talked about a ton, opened a really nice new library for the city, building the first new city building in decades.
Yeah, and it is beautiful. We went through a few weeks ago.
Yes, and opened that this summer, and that was a really big deal for the city. So now they have taken the former library building and turned it into a location for a Boys and Girls Club. And I just really thought that was that quick turnaround into something so useful for the community was really great to see.
It's awesome. I'm a big fan of the Boys and Girls Clubs. I've shared before, my brother and I were raised by a single mom for a lot of our childhood. She was able to get us in activities through the Boys Club that she couldn't have afforded otherwise.
Right.
So I've really got a soft spot for that organization. They do such a great job for kids that really need it, need that outlet. So often they're kind of pushed to the edge of town into an old, more dilapidated building. They kind of take what they could get because their services are their primary goal, not a fancy building. But for the city of Irondale, to put them in the old city hall or the old library right in the heart of town, I love it.
I did
just
too.
love
And
it.
I don't know if you remember, you probably do, but this summer during the political forums, a place for people in this age range was a topic of conversation during the forums with those leaders and potential leaders for Irondale, and to see that turn around that quickly, I just thought was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's going to fill a lot of needs.
Yeah.
They're treating it as a priority, as I said, putting it in the heart of town in the former library. I love it. I look for big things out of that club, and I think we'll see them.
Absolutely. And I should have mentioned too that it was dedicated as a campus for the A.G. Gaston Boys and Girls Club, and so that there's so much history in that itself. And Terry Scrimshire, who's one of our freelance writers and does some other things for us.
Actually interim editor at the moment.
Yes, he did a great story. So if you've not visited TrussvilleTribune.com and read the story, he did such an excellent job giving some history there on A.G. Gaston and how the club, how he started those clubs in Birmingham. It just really captured the whole thing very well. So I encourage you to check that out again. That's on our website. And then finally, the last story we're going to talk about from Trussville, that was so interesting too, that we have a longtime restaurant in Tamburro's saying goodbye in that strip mall off of North Chalkville, the old Kmart. We call it a lot, but anyway, Tamburro's, that was a Italian restaurant for so long in the middle of Trussville and then reopened up there, they've decided to close. And at the same time, Palace, everybody's mourned the temporary closing of Palace that was across the street over by the Regal movie theater. They are reopening a little farther down in that same strip mall. So you've got an important closing and then an important opening. And so that was an interesting story too that was up this week.
Yeah, and I don't think it's an overstatement to call both of those restaurants iconic in Trussville.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
They both were here for a very long time. And I hate the revival of Tamburro's hasn't gone longer, but what a treat. For the families that had never experienced it, never had a great Italian meal with an accordion playing at your table. I mean, they were unique, they were different, they were such a part of the fabric of this community for decades, I guess decades. They were here when I moved here, but for that to come back for a couple of years and people to see it and experience that, I think it was great. Compliments to the family for doing that. That had to be a huge investment for them.
Yes.
And certainly a labor of love. So it was cool to see that opportunity come back. But literally as they're closing, the Palace is announcing right down the sidewalk, hope to be open in February. They'd hope to be open a lot earlier, actually, but they're doing a lot of work in there. It's the old East Buffet, China Buffet spot. It will be completely Palace when they reopen. And you know the Palace, it was a sit-down restaurant, everything
so
cooked
good.
to order. It was just the best. It was the best.
It was really great.
So they're coming back as we lose another icon, and it's kind of the way of the world, you know?
Yeah, it is. So looking forward to getting that back. And then I did leave a little room here on the end, and in case, you don't have to, but in case there was anything from the legislative goings on thus far, if you wanted to talk about it.
Well, the session's just started. We won't try to get too deeply into it because it's just kind of getting going. One of the big items going into this session was actually involving a story that the Tribune broke months ago when we shared that the AHSAA, according to legislators, was breaking the law in how they treated CHOOSE Act funds that students are able to get to cover their education. There was a bill that was described to me as a nuclear bomb that was filed just as the session got going. The lieutenant governor was behind the bill, I believe. That's 100% sincere if Will Ainsworth's behind it. But the person carrying the bill, Donnie Chastain, is a former part of the education complex, so to speak. He's a former coach. I think he may have been an administrator, AEA member. He filed it, so I kind of had a feeling this probably won't go anywhere. That's happened before. And sure enough, it was going to completely redo the AHSAA board. That bill was pulled back yesterday. Kind of expected that. And a lot of people think, well, that's moved on. There's another bill's coming that is probably was the real bill all along. So it's not over. That conversation is still going. We'll continue to follow that and see how that works out. But right now, it's kind of floating at the moment.
Okay.
But that'll be a big topic going forward. I don't look for this session to be overwhelmingly monumental because it's the last one before they face the voters.
You said that last week. So that's so boring.
They'll try to keep it boring. They don't want it to be exciting.
Yeah, okay. Boo. Right. Okay, well, that's everything we have this week. Please stay safe this weekend, and we'll see what happens.
We do hope you get to Hawaii.
But for the hypothetical, that was a hypothetical friend.
I know.
I was just like,
hypothetically, we hope you get there.
Thank you.
But just watch the weather. We will, and I know what everybody's thinking. What are the schools going to do? I will call Patrick Martin as soon as we get off the show. Here's what he's going to tell me. I'll believe it when I see it. He doesn't rush in on hypotheticals. I can just tell you that. I've been around him and we've had enough of these conversations to know he won't rush in on a hypothetical. He will wait until there's some certainty and then he will make a decision, which as a parent, that was always what I wanted. Let's try to educate our kids first and foremost.
Yeah.
If we just can't do it, then let's make the best and safest decision. And I think we get that out of Dr. Martin on a very regular basis.
And I don't want any e-work or anything like that anyway.
Well, I don't. I mean,
I'd rather just go to school.
Once he has certainty, he will make a decision. I don't really look for that certainty to come until later in the day, Sunday. But as we've already seen, this is changing every 15, 20 minutes. So anything could happen. It's Alabama.
All right. Yeah, absolutely.
It will.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Well said. All right. Well, have a great rest of your week, and somebody will be back next week. We'll see you then.